Hi friends, welcome to Bookish Bliss, our virtual book club. Every week we will dig into a section of chapters in our favorite books. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 51 of Bookish Bliss. We have a lot to discuss today.
This week we are covering the prologue through chapter 10 of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. So you don't have to read the whole book to listen, you just have to be caught up on the chapters we're covering. Amanda, darling, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking LaCroix lime because I don't have any orange, but it was free, so it'll have to do.
If it's free, it's
Shout
for
out
me.
BT. What are you drinking tonight?
I am just going to have some water.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Little hydration night for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got a lot to talk about, so you're going to need it.
Oh my gosh, do we have a lot to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, cheers to episode 51 and our first episode covering Onyx Storm.
Yeah.
Which we are so excited to start talking about just so we can go read the next set of chapters.
Exactly.
Cheers, darling.
Cheers, darling. Now let's get started with the good stuff and break down Onyx Storm Part 1. Before we get into the chapters, though, we have to mention, of course, we have our map. Although it was a little surprising that there was no new territories on it. Same old map as Iron Flame, but, you know, it's okay.
I mean,
I still love a map.
Always looking for new features on a map in every book.
Literally, I'm like, what's up with the map?
Yeah,
Not
ACOTAR
even
did
one?
give you that when
I know.
we
It
did
did.
ACOTAR.
It did.
And you picked up clues from it, and you would
I
latch
did.
onto theories.
Yes, that's why I'm so crazy about the map, but it's no different. I'm like,
I know.
I thought we were at least going to get something off the continent, but
I know.
I don't know.
In
I guess we'll have to see.
Sunday.
Interesante indeed. But we also got a little cheat sheet to the riders in Bonded Dragons and their signets.
Yeah.
And the world leaders.
Yeah, but it looked like it was just the riders
Yes,
from
and-
Violet's squad.
Yeah,
Besides
yes.
Xaden, and then we got the world leaders.
Exactly. And the Griffins from their squad, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that we just get their updates because we know about Bodhi and Garrick and things like that, and they're not listed on this little cheat sheet, which I found very interesting that they were missing off of this.
So the text again was transcribed by Jacinia, and all events are true, but the names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. I always have to mention this because it always gets me thinking right before I go into the story of what the fuck this means.
Yeah, and how far back into the past is this?
Yeah.
Is this newly fresh, like in like a couple years
she
down the
just
line?
finished? Yeah.
Or is this hundreds of years ago that we're reading? We don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy to even think about.
I know.
So go ahead, Megan. I'll let you take it away with our little summary of the prologue.
All right. So literally the prologue is picking up right where Iron Flame ended from Xaden's point of view, but now we're back in Violet's point of view, and she is following Xaden when he left her bed. She said, "Oh no, my man's going nowhere without me. Where is he going?" And she has a sneaking suspicion that he is going to go see a man that we despise named Jack Barlow. And it is true. We also get some really good tidbits about Indarna and what the plan is going to be for the future and what they want to do. And so it is a really nice start to the story. It's reminding us of where we left off and where we're going.
Exactly. Perfect little prologue.
Yes.
So the epigraph for the prologue is, securing Biscayeth and the wards has come at great cost, including General Sorrengail's life. Strategy must adjust. It is in the realm's best interest to ally with Poromil, even temporarily. And this is recovered correspondence of General Augustine Melgreen to His Majesty King Tari.
Wow.
I see an allyship coming our way.
Well, it's definitely needed. I think
I
we've seen that working together to defeat the enemy works best than fighting alone. But I just don't, I know there's still going to be problems from this.
Of course, this literally goes against every strategy Navarre has had in the last 600 plus years.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be easy at all.
No. All right. So Violet, like I said, is following Xaden through the tunnels using their dragon's bond. He has red circles around his irises, and Violet thinks if anyone sees him, he will be arrested and maybe even executed. Well, we know
Ugh,
for sure he'll be executed.
I know, literally. So Violet knows though that the red circles around his eyes will fade at this phase of being Venom. So he just needs to keep hidden until then, and then they're in the clear.
Yeah.
Part of her delusion starts here.
She is
Right away.
very delusional in these first sets of chapters.
Yes.
It really started at the end of Iron Flame, and it's just continuing on into Onyx.
It's getting worse and worse.
Yes.
So during the battle, it was warm enough for thunderstorms, but since General Soaring Gale heroically gave her life to light the Iron Flame, the temperatures fell steadily and snow started to fall.
No one's there to control the weather anymore.
Yeah.
She did let it get cold because I remember, I think it was during Fourth Wing where they wouldn't let them go for flight lessons because of how cold it was. But since she's not there, there's no control whatsoever.
Yeah, which is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since what happens at the end of this section, but we'll get into that later.
Literally. And Darna tells Violet that she can grieve the loss of her mother. Violet sees wounded soldiers in every color of uniform, and she says, if I wallow in every loss, that's all I'll ever have time for, which she's learned from her 18 months at Biscayeth. A third year yelled, to General Sorengale, the flame of Biscayeth. So even though her and her mother obviously had a very tumultuous relationship, it must still be nice to see how respected she was at this war college and just in general throughout Navarre, and that she's being celebrated for the sacrifice that she gave because she was such a well-respected general.
Yeah, I agree too. It is definitely nice. And Violet's kind of avoiding her feelings on that too. So it's nice to at least somebody to acknowledge her death in the beginning of the next book.
Exactly. It's all will come out eventually. We can't hold grief in forever.
Exactly. So Violet reaches out for Xaden here, but there's no luck. There's only a thick wall of chilled Onyx. Uh-oh.
He's blocked her out.
Yes, he has.
Violet thinks, what would Mirror do? But ultimately, she cannot know about Xaden or she will kill him, which Indarna is like, your sister would kill first and ask questions later.
Literally.
So Xaden would already be dead.
Yep.
Violet asks the guards for 5 minutes to talk to Jack Barlow, and they know she is the lightning wielder. So they give her 5 minutes for her and 5 minutes for her mother for what she did today. Violet knows that at this moment, no one knows about the sacrifice that Xaden made to kill the sage who is their general. Crazy. Violet can't believe Xaden would risk going down here while the red circles still appear, but Indarna says he probably seeks information. I don't blame him, which is true. I would want to know everything that I'm up against. Is Jack Barlow the best person to get this information from? Probably not, but he's the only option that Xaden has at this point to ask any questions, too.
Exactly. I would do the same thing. I wouldn't be able to just lie in bed and just, like, chill.
Yeah, just be, like, thinking and thinking and thinking. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Violet says that Xaden isn't a soulless Venom. He is still Xaden, my Xaden. She says he only channeled once, so surely she can fix whatever his soul is cracked. She thinks it's this tiny little sliver that he only pulled once and that she's going to be able to fix him. Delusional.
I mean, I understand having the hope at this stage because it's very, very new, but it gets much more delusional from here.
I think that if there was some sort of indication that Venom could be cured, I would be feeling like, well, it was only once and we can totally get him under control and cured. But there is no known cure, as we know. And so I feel like no matter what, it's just so delusional. But I think she's just in such grief that she doesn't know how to think negatively at this point. She's just holding on to whatever shred of hope she has left.
Exactly, yeah. That's true.
Violet knows Taryn's feelings on the subject of Xaden, so she asks Indarna just not to fight with her on this too. And Indarna agrees she will not be another battle for her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of great that she'll have Indarna in her corner as an ally she does ask, but I think Indarna was always going to back Violet up and be on her side and not battle her anyways, seeing as she's the one that's kind of with Violet in this moment as she's going to find Xaden.
Yeah, I think at this moment too kind of makes her a little bit more mature already. Not really like young adolescent. She's kind of getting to the mid-adolescent, I would say, because she still doesn't go with them on some battles and stuff or some patrols and whatever, but she's talking like she's a little bit more mature.
Yeah, I think as she learns more about herself, because she is still learning. She doesn't even fully know who she is and what her potential is. So I think as she comes into her own, she's just becoming more confident.
Yeah, totally. So Violet tells Indarna that she should make the choice about finding her family, but she is worried about Melgreen. But Indarna says, I scorched that venom, and the magic feels different when she changes colors. She thinks that the use of her power altered and weakened the venom, at least enough to blister them, which could really change everything. But of course, Violet is not willing to risk telling everyone Indarna could be the new weapon, because then the entire continent will want her. So yeah, that's not happening.
It's bad enough they already know that she is the seventh den.
Yeah.
So
rumor is already circulating that they will seek an alliance with Poromil, which we already know from reading the epigraph too.
Jack tells Xaden, so now we can hear they're having a conversation already as Violet is sneaking down the steps. And Jack tells Xaden that the higher-ups want Violet for her power and that Xaden should fall in line and find someone else to fuck.
Oh, that was a little brutal, especially for Violet to hear. I'm like, oh.
I know, especially because that's not what their relationship is.
No.
So.
Yeah. But Jack's a dickhead anyway, so.
For sure.
Jack actually goes on to tell Xaden, though, that he can't control what parts are taken first. But from experience, he knows the control goes quickly. Jack says Xaden will slip and Violet's silver hair will be gray like the rest of her. And his weak initiate rings in his eyes will be permanent.
I don't like that.
I do not like that, although I feel as if there is some truth in what he says.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think this gives us confirmation right here that her silver hair is some kind of weird connection to the venom.
For sure.
For sure. We don't know what yet.
We don't know what it is, but it has to be. We've been speculating this since, I feel like Fourth Wing now.
Yeah. Well, he's literally telling her, you think that's bad? That little silver will be gray. I get that when you drain, you lose color, but...
Yeah, I think there's more to it.
Yeah.
Xaden is like, hells no, that is not going to be happening. And Jack is like, you could deliver her yourself. Or free me and we can do it together. And, they'll just give you anything you want, basically.
Yeah.
And Xaden's like, fuck you. Never gonna happen.
Yeah, like, hello. What does he think? He's just gonna blindly agree to this? After 1 hour of being vented?
I wish that Violet actually, popped out during this scene and is, just middle fingering everyone.
Yeah, I wish she did too. So Indarna promises that they will find the cure. She thinks that if she's right and affected the venom by changing her scales, then the rest of her kind should know how to master the tactic and ultimately change him and cure him from his venomism.
Is Indarna just as delusional as Violet?
Or does she know something that we don't?
That she just hasn't said? I feel like with Violet in such despair about all of this, I feel like she would just tell her.
Yeah, but then she could be like, well, if you didn't figure it out, then you're not worth knowing later. So who knows?
She's still playing that game.
Yeah. I said she was a little bit more mature, but I don't know about full adult mature.
Yeah. Violet is hesitant to use Indarna, but she wants to find her family and wants to do it on their terms, Violet and Indarna's terms, not leadership. Yeah. They can follow every possible path to a cure that way, even if they need to break a few laws.
Which we know is going to happen already in this first section of chapters. And Indarna says dragons do not answer to the laws of humans anyway, and since Violet is bonded to her and Taryn, the rules don't apply to her either. She's a rebellious little adolescent there.
Yeah, but honestly, she's not really all that wrong because leadership needs Violet Signet. They need her dragons. So
Exactly.
really, she is kind of untouchable at this moment.
Yeah, and Violet knows it too. She's a little sassy McSasser in this section too.
I love to see it. I'd rather see
I
that
love
than
it.
Delulu Violet.
Same, me too. We need more of her.
Yeah. And Darna tells Violet she is going to have to keep secrets, and she agrees to keep only the ones that protect Xaden. So step 1 is preventing Jack from telling someone about his conversation with Xaden without killing him. She tells Darna to tell Glaine that Violet needs Imogen. Oh,
What?
I'm just getting why she needs Imogen is because they need to erase Jack's memory.
Yeah.
Like, I totally didn't pick up on that the first time. I just know that, Imogen has been so supportive of Violet and protecting things that Violet wants protected. And obviously she does everything for Xaden. I thought, like, this is where, Imogen just comes in to start babysitting Xaden.
No, they literally want him not to remember so that he can't tell anybody that Xaden is Venom.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I read this prologue. I was sleep deprived.
Yeah.
So I feel like going through this episode is also going to really help me. I feel like I should have reread the first 11 chapters that we did before recording this. All right, chapter 1. So we're doing a baby time jump here to 2 weeks later. We see Violet and some of her squad out on patrol looking for any remaining Venom that haven't escaped Navarre yet. We also get to see kind of like a divide between the Navarian riders and the Orisha riders. We get a warning from Imogen, and we get a surprise attack at the end of this chapter.
Ugh, already chapter 1, crazy.
I know, that's true.
So the epigraph for chapter 1 is, I will not die today, but it's crossed out and it says, I will save him. Violet Sorrengail's personal addendum to the Book of Brennan.
She's crazy.
She's crazy. But she will not die today, hopefully, is still in the plan, even though she crossed it out. So, like Megan said, it's 2 weeks later, and the King's Council is on the 4th day of peace talks with Poromil. Poromil, though, has publicly stated that they will walk after day 7 if the terms can't be reached, and it's not looking too good right now.
No.
Basically, I think this is saying, like, you're not going to walk all over us and get whatever you want by bullying us into this long-ass negotiation or whatever. So this is the deadline. If you can't meet it, then too bad.
Yeah.
Because Navarre's really the ones that want to make the peace now.
Yeah, Poromil has the upper hand.
Exactly. So Taryn and Violet are on patrol looking for Venom. And Darna was left behind in the Vale because, of course, they're hunting dark wheelers and it's not safe for the 100th time. The Venom that didn't escape post-battle, we're still adding to the death roll from within, taking lives from all sections. And they have had the worst weather in the last 2 weeks since before the death of General Sorrengail.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of uphill battles to already overcome in chapter 1.
It is very snowy, icy and snowy everywhere. It's very hard to fly.
Yeah, because these dragons can't carry these extra weight on their wings either. It's crazy.
And that's also another reason why Darna is not out there, because she can't do that yet.
Exactly.
Taryn's like, practice defrosting yourself, and then we'll talk about it.
Exactly.
Violet snaps out of these thoughts, though, and says she will grieve later, always later. She's going to have a mental breakdown at some point.
Yeah, she is. She's going to force herself into it because
it's not healthy.
She literally can't think of anything else besides saving Xaden.
Yeah. Saving Xaden.
So the area is clear of Venom for the last 3 days, and the cadets have killed 31 Venom in the areas surrounding Biscayeth, while the professors work to clear the rest of the province. So there actually was quite a few left over from the battle.
I was still lingering around. I'm surprised. Like, did they just not make it can they not run very fast?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, once they literally lost their wyvern, they lost their advantage.
Yeah. So Riddick's dragon drops from the storm, almost landing on Taryn, and Taryn is pissed about this and crunches his jaw close to Atrom's head. Violet is like, it was clearly an accident. Calm down. But I think, Taryn's still all worked up from Xaden, and Sigil's pissed off. So clearly he's probably not getting any. So he's in a bad mood.
Yeah, he's definitely in grumpy old grandpa mood.
Yeah.
This all could have been avoided if the dragons communicated instead of closing himself off to his riot over an argument with his rider, which we'll get into later in the section.
hmm Violet and Taryn bicker again over Violet's stitched up buckle on her saddle and Xaden. Taryn calls Xaden the Dark One, and Violet doesn't like that.
Oh, I don't like that either.
That doesn't feed into her delusions.
No.
Taryn tells Violet to stop denying the truth and that his soul is no longer his own. The power is addictive and she knows it, or she wouldn't be pretending to sleep at night. But she quickly changes the subject. She is delusional, but then she also is like protecting herself at the same time.
Yeah.
Violet says, "Did you make me repair my saddle for punishment or because you don't trust Xaden anymore?" And Taryn just goes, "Yes."
Yes.
Both. Either way, he supports Violet, and Violet says thank you. But Taryn adds, "Don't mistake my support for you and Indarna and my mate for any faith in Xaden."
Ugh, he's done with him. The cord has been cut.
Well, yeah, because we have obviously always speculated that his previous rider, Nyolan, is Venin, and he cut the cord. So I feel like he would also expect his mate to do the same thing.
Yeah, interesting. So he's probably beefing with Sigale a little bit.
Yeah, they're probably not on the same page.
No dragon sex in this section.
So that's why he's like, don't, mistake that because I have faith in you and in Darna and Sigale that I have any faith in that Dark One.
Well, I think he probably sees that she's delusional and he's like, I'm not feeding into that delusion. Like, let me tell you.
He's like, I don't have time to deal with Sigale and Darna and Violet all at the same time. One at a time.
Exactly.
He's like surrounded by all these delusional females.
Yeah. They report back to Rhea and Quinn that there was nothing seen of concern on their patrol. And we find out that Violet lost her one and only conduit in battle. And that Riddick and his dragon were fighting because his dragon wants to go back home to Arisha, which is common among the riot. He's not the only dragon that wants this. And Riddick's dragon thinks that they can start the search for the seventh den from there. Why do we have to be in Navarre?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the wards have something to do with it, but yeah.
It is interesting, though, that riot that split from Navarre, obviously we know they made a new home in Arisha with a new nesting area.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that they got so attached so quickly because they haven't been in Arisha for that long before they came back.
I know. I feel like they just hate Navarre.
Yeah. Those dragons that chose to leave left for a reason.
Yeah. And do you think that's why Taryn is like wicked snappy with him because he disagrees with him about where they should be?
No, I think that maybe Taryn also agrees that they should be leaving, but he also doesn't think that you should be shutting off your communication with your riot to have an argument with Riddick. Like, you can do that at a different time, and that time wasn't appropriate.
Yeah, that's true. Like he was in the way, like collateral damage because of your stupidity.
Yes.
So the unity between Navarrian and Arishan riders is already over after this battle. But the only path to an alliance that saves Poramish citizens requires them to be at Biscayeth for now. And this little for now makes me feel like we're going to be leaving
very soon.
Going into a new place, hopefully, but
we'll see.
We'll see.
Taryn also reminds Violet that Navarre's wards protect her from Xaden, too.
Violet catches sight of Malik's fire consuming the belongings of the dead, and she tells us that she kept her mom's personal journals. Can't wait for those fucking epigraphs at all. Super excited for those. Devara and Kaori are meeting with the royals to agree on a treaty that pardons all of them for leaving Navarre in the first place. So this is the first part of the negotiations.
Imogen appears and Reed tells Imogen that she missed patrol. Imogen, though, says she was assigned elsewhere by Lieutenant Tavis. Reed, though, says she better make sure she is present tomorrow. Rhiannon is holding the line. She's a great squad leader. She doesn't put up with anyone's shit.
Nope. She's like, I don't care who you are and what you were doing. You better come on patrol with your squad.
They stick
Although
together.
We know exactly what she was doing.
Yes. Violet told the second-year riders what Mira is up to and not the Flyers because if they get caught, it's treason. But if the Flyers get caught, it's war, which is totally true. Xaden is already pissed at Violet for burdening Imogen with this information. And Imogen's like, well, he should stop doing stupid shit, and then we wouldn't have to be monitoring him.
Yeah. Ditto. I agree.
Imogen tells Violet that Bodhi, Garrick, and herself met and talked and think Violet should reconsider her sleeping arrangements. Violet tells Imogen she can go fuck themselves.
Literally. She's like, yeah, well, fuck you.
Yeah. Violet will not run from Xaden. He has never hurt her physically, and he never will.
Ugh. Is this foreshadowing, though? That's literally what I thought when I read this. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to mean to hurt her, but I feel like he's going to do something and it's not going to be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Violet notices Caroline Ashton, which means the Truthsayers cleared her. And I think it's very interesting that we get a mention of her here.
Mm-hmm.
She's always lurking around a corner somewhere.
She always
Weirdo.
is.
Xaden knows that they will be sent to find Indarna's kind, but he doesn't want to know the rest of the mission. He's just worried about being an unintentional leak to the Venons.
Yeah. Every second year in their squad hurtles around Sawyer's bed. Even Kat and Marin are there. Sawyer is bummed out and doesn't feel like a part of their team anymore. Sawyer asks about the patrol, and they tell him it's quiet. Riddick thinks they got them all, or they managed to flee. Ree says that they are not sending cadets beyond the borders until they graduate. So we know now that cadets are back at school.
They're still going to school during all this. Wild.
And that they're not going to send them out to fight the Venom, which I guess, you know, having them fight Episkayeth was like a last minute, their only option, because there were no trained riders at the school because they all went to Samara. So they didn't have a choice. But if, you know, leadership has a choice, they're not going to send, you know, second and third year, first year cadets that don't really know what they're doing to fight Venom.
I totally agree. I just think it's weird, though, to think, like, there could be Venom in their fucking classes.
Yeah. That's true. And poor Sawyer.
I know.
I feel so bad.
I feel so bad for
So
Sawyer.
devastating.
She will be sent off to seek out the 7th Dragon Den within Darna. She will provide a list of people that she trusts to go on the mission with her, if leadership gives her the okay. I love her confidence in this. Like, she's just going to be able to run the fucking mission.
Demand what she wants.
Second year. Yeah. So Colonel Chandler, the commander of the retired riders, unfortunately visited our boy Sawyer. But their conversation is interrupted by screams from the infirmary. Someone there yells, "They're all dead!" And Violet sees the gray handprints on the side of one of the victims' necks. They haven't found them on their patrols because they are already inside, baby.
Shoot.
Oh, fucking shit. It's on, baby.
Literally. This is chapter 1.
I know.
Chapter 1.
I don't know how people are like, oh, it's not exciting. I'm like, dude, we're literally battling Ven in chapter 1. But okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, chapter 2, our squad is obviously going to run out and find these Venom and go kick some ass. And they realize that these Venom are heading down to take Jack Barlow out of his cell. Xaden is like, why is it always you? Violence, why are you always in the midst of trouble? And then we get some bickering between Xaden and Violet about, is it safe for them to be around each other? And I'm just over it already. This is going to be like the miscommunication in Iron Flame.
I know. My friend Emily says to me, me and Megan are not going to like this book because there's going to be no smooching at this rate.
I need the smooching, and there's gonna be no smooching.
Already the bickering.
I'm already
Instead of the smooching.
mad about it.
So the epigraph for chapter 2 is, the rarest of signets, those that rise once in a generation or century, have manifested concurrently with an equal twice in our records, both critical times in our history, but only once have the 6 most powerful walked the continent simultaneously. As fascinating as that spectacle must have been, I would rather not live to see it happen again. And this is in A Study of Signets by Major Dalton Cisneros. And I think this epigraph is full on foreshadowing, but I'll wait until my predictions section to bring that up.
It totally is. Foreshadowing.
Yes. So every overflow bed is filled with desiccated bodies. Insane. Every single bed. Violet reaches for Xaden, but his shields are locked tight.
Of course.
Of course, she doesn't have her conduit, so dag as it is. Karen warns the other dragons to tell their riders to guard the wardstone because automatically they think they're going to try and break the wardstone again.
Yes. And Darna tells them to bring the venom bodies back so she can roast them for fun.
Feisty little one.
Mm-hmm.
There are no survivors, and they see another scribe, but they see spider-webbed veins at his temples. So this is one of the stronger guys, maybe like an Asim or something, because he's got those long veins. Violet kills it with a dagger, and she says a scribe would have run to the archive. So she just knew it was a venom, obviously. I mean, if the eyes didn't give it away, I don't know what would.
Literally.
That's how they fed without being noticed. They were dressed as scribes. Violet notices the alloy's hum weakens, but still has power, hopefully enough for another killing blow. Which I thought was interesting because we don't hear any time that I can think of up to this point that the alloy dagger runs out of power. So I don't know if it's because this is probably the most powerful venom she's killed yet, and it took a lot more power out of the dagger to kill it. But I just thought that was interesting, and I wanted to mention it in case there was an occurrence that I'm not remembering. But
I don't think that we ever heard of it running out of power, but it does make a lot of sense that it would run out of power after killing a venom, and that's why poor Emil was constantly needing new weapons and, trying to steal them.
Yeah, and they have to be imbued too, which we know, like, the wardstone has to continuously be imbued. So I figured that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember an occurrence of it actually hearing, like, that they notice it's running out of power. So that to me is saying that this is probably the strongest so far that they've killed.
Yeah.
Which also makes me scarily think that maybe a dagger can't even kill a general or a maven because it might not be imbued with as much power as it needed.
Yeah.
Or needs. So
Violet will have to kill them.
Yeah. That will have to be done by lightning.
Yes. They then see more scribes and order them to drop their hoods, but there are no red veins, so they tell them to get back to the archives and to warn the others.
Mm-hmm. Violet sends a silent thanks to Iran Norris, which I think is the first time we're hearing this name, because I don't remember this name at all.
Nope, not ringing a bell.
For building Biscayeth, with stone stairs and not wooden that creak or burn.
Mm-hmm.
But also I think we hear of a Norris character later in this section. There's a connection there.
There's a lot of new names in this book.
Yeah. So the Venom have come back for Jack, as Megan said. There's 4 of them, actually. A female pulls out her ruby-hilted sword and kills one of the second lieutenants. And another one watches in the shadows. Interesting. She has a long silver braid, this Venom, and a faded tattoo on her forehead. She makes eye contact with Violet, and she can see the red veins at her temples. And then the Venom disappears.
Poof.
Poof. So she's obviously super strong with the really long veins, and now she's fucking disappearing in midair. Crazy.
That is crazy.
So Violet throws a dagger at the female with the sword and hits her right in the throat. Riddick battles 2 other Venoms with ice, and Violet tries to hit the other with her last dagger. But the dark-haired Venom moves unnaturally fast and dodges her strikes. The Venom swings a mace at Violet, and the female with the sword says, "Not the silver hair! We need her!"
Violet's like, for what? To control Xaden? Fuck that. But I don't think it's to control Xaden. I just think they need Violet.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what Jack said, how they want her for her power.
Yeah, exactly.
So the black-haired Venom moves in a blur and says, "Ah, the lightning wielder. You're a long way from the sky. We both know you can't kill me with that dagger."
Ooh.
This is why I think what I was saying earlier, why we find out that the dagger is not enough to kill maybe a general.
Yeah.
But she doesn't need to.
Xaden is here. Shadows surround them, and Violet thinks home.
Sorry. Our little delusional little girl.
So bad. A little bit. Oh, sorry. The threat is gone with all the venom on the floor and daggers in their chests. So he did die by a dagger.
That's true.
Maybe there's multiple daggers in his chest. Violet and Xaden's eyes meet, and she doesn't see any sign of red wings. She loves this man still. Xaden says, "Tell me something, Violence. Why is it always you?"
Our mans.
Our mans.
For now. They get a debrief from Colonel Panchek after all this goes down, and he doesn't actually seem fazed that the Venom were working to rescue Barlow instead of going for the Wardstone, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe because
But
they already tried that tactic. So, but why do they need Jack Barlow? That's also a weird question.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Colonel Panchek is a Venom. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Maybe he is.
Everyone's a Venom until proven innocent.
Everyone's a fucking Venom, yeah. Barlow luckily can't hear or see anything outside of the chamber unless someone opens the door. So he's not getting any new intel. And from the look of the stones he's drained, he'll be dead within the week.
Yeah.
We can have wishful hoping here, but he ain't going to be dead in a week.
No, that man is like...
the man that keeps on living.
Yeah, he's like just never dies.
Yeah,
so
he's
no
just
annoying.
Stuck in his hell for the rest of his life because he sucks.
Yeah. Violet says to Xaden, "It's not always me," but he says it is, and he kisses her hand. Aw, there's one smooch.
One little smoochy on the hand.
Riddick tried to tell Xaden that he totally had the Dark Wielder before he stepped in, but Xaden was like, no, you didn't. Riddick was like, how could you possibly know that? And Xaden and Garrick look at each other while Violet fights a smile. Xaden misses alone time since he is constantly being guarded now, and he agrees with Garrick that they should not be left alone together.
No, but they should sleep together, right?
Yeah, 0 sense. Violet tells Xaden that she trusts him, and he tells her that she shouldn't. He doesn't trust himself, at least not to control, at least not to lose control in any form. So they are not doing anything in bed except sleeping.
Ugh. Boring.
Violet says that they will stop hovering once Xaden is cured.
Delulu.
Delulu moment number 1600 of this book.
No, I think she really, I don't know. Maybe they will find a cure.
Maybe.
Xaden tries to change the subject and ask Violet if she's ready to meet with the Cenarium. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Cenarium. I didn't know what this word was, so I looked up the definition and it says, I don't know why.
You just sounded like a robot again. I didn't know what this word was, so I looked up the definition and it says...
I was like half reading it as a joke, but yeah, I'm not going to say that. Sorry. Continue.
Violet says, "Do not change the subject. I will cur you.
I will cur you."
Violet says, "Do not change the subject. I will find a cure for you. Now let me in." And Xaden does drop his shield. I have to imagine she says it like brings her like comfort when she can reach that bond. And I feel like I know exactly how that means. What that means. Just like when you know you're just like in the arms of your loved one, you just feel so content.
Yeah.
It probably feels like a warm hug.
Aw, yeah. I was thinking you were gonna say, "Oh my God, she commanded him and he did it."
Oh shit. Yeah, that totally just happened.
Interesting. Interesante indeed. So funny. Xaden wielded his signet and did it behind the wards. He was able to channel from Sigale, but she's still not speaking to him, so flying is awkward as fuck. Violet thinks she will come around, but Taryn is like, "Nope, I wouldn't count on it, honey." Xaden says Sigale can sense that he's not whole anymore.
But Sigale is still letting him ride on her, and she's not...
And channel from her.
Yeah.
So
I think she will come around.
I think she will, but I don't think Taryn's gonna.
No.
Which maybe is gonna save Sigale if anything happens to Taryn.
Do you think they're gonna break up?
Yes. And I think Taryn's gonna die.
Shut your mouth and take that back right now. Put your hand back on your forehead and say that.
Put your hand back.
And take it back.
I take it back.
Okay. Whoever takes your hands off first is a loser.
Oh my god, that was so funny. Put your hand back on your head right now.
I'm crying.
Jeez. I'm like a tomato now. Okay.
Okay. All right. Violet, again, is in full denial. Violet says, you are I can't even say it without laughing.
She's the Lulu.
Yeah.
But also, I feel bad. I want to say, like, she's hopeful, but no, she's, like, past hopeful.
Yeah, she's past hopeful. It's, like, the only thing keeping her going at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Violet says it didn't change him, but he's like, actually...
Even Zayden's like, bitch, I'm different, okay?
I'm like full on tears in my eyes. Oh my god.
My abs hurt.
This is our workshop for tonight. Okay. People are gonna think we're like upset. Just crying because I'm like crying.
Oh shit.
All right. So I'm just gonna leave it like that because I can't say it. Violet says, do you still love me? And Zayden says, I could reach the rank of Maven, lead armies of dark wielders against everyone we care for, and watch every vein in my body turn red as I channel all...
Oh.
I was finally not laughing.
I know.
Armies of dark wielders against everyone we care for, and watch every vein in my body turn red as I channel all the power in the continent, and I would still love you. Violet's like, see? Still you, LOL. But Zayden's like, that should scare the shit out of you. And she's like, nope, it doesn't.
Literally. Okay, this is where the full-on Delulu comes into play.
She has an answer for everything.
Yeah, she does. She will not accept that he's gonna give up. Which is understandable, but again, gotta have some reality here.
She needs therapy.
Yeah. Zayden tells us that with his shields up, he knew to come help because he can sense them the same way that they sense him. And that is how he knows that he's changed. But also how him and Garrick have managed to slay more than a dozen of them that week. He can feel them calling out to him, just like he can feel the source pulsing beneath his feet with incomparable power because he is one of them.
Zayden's like, are you scared yet? She's like, nope.
He's probably like, no. You still love me. You're still you.
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Okay. So, moving on to chapter 3, we see Violet still be delusional about Zayden. She speaks to the scenarium, and will she or will she not get her way? Well, we're going to have to wait on that. And we do get a little sexy time between her and Zayden, but something bad happens at the end, of course.
Of course. Oops, sorry. So the epigraph for chapter 3 is, sometimes I worry about Violet. She has your sharp wit, quick mind, and steadfast heart, paired with my bull-headed tendency.
Tenacity.
Tenacity. Sorry, I knew that wasn't it. I'm like, paired with my bull-headed tenacity. When she finally and truly gives her heart, I fear it will overrule the other gifts you've given her, and logic will cede its voice to love. Mama Sorengale knows her girl.
She does.
Yeah. If her first two, what's that word?
Liaisons.
And if her first two liaisons are any indication of what we might expect, God's help her, my love. I'm afraid our daughter has atrocious taste in men. And this is recovered unsent correspondence of General Lilith Sorrengail. I think Megan's right. We're going to get some X's in this story.
I totally think we are, especially with that.
Yes. Foreshadowing.
And also, obviously, General Sorrengail doesn't approve of Xaden to begin with. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, she would be,
No.
She's rolling in her grave.
I know.
Violet knows now that Xaden can sense the Vedin, but she questions if that means he gave up part of his soul. Violet still believes that he is whole, just with heightened senses. Okay.
You don't know, Violet.
You can't see into his soul.
Whatever you think, girl.
Yeah.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Violet says she will never be scared of Xaden, but he's like, you will be. Garrick, who doesn't trust Xaden at all, says, okay, 5 minutes are up. Violet's got to go to her meeting. And by the way, did she tell you that we think you should sleep somewhere else?
Yeah.
But Xaden has the same answer for Garrick as Violet did for Imogen. Get fucked.
So in one scenario, he's saying Garrick's right. And the second, he's saying get fucked.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
That's kind of been Xaden this whole time. He's never really given the same answer to different people.
Yeah.
Garrick lets Violet know that he thought she would at least be logical, but she says that her decision to trust him is based off facts of proven history. But Xaden tells Garrick that they will have problems if he doesn't back off. So Garrick lets this go for now. Is Amanda's crack theory starting to come true?
I believe so. Don't worry, I compiled all the evidence in this section to talk about during our prediction.
I'm sure you did. So Xaden asks Violet if she is sure that this is what she wants, but she says it's what she wants, so what Indarna wants. So that's why Violet is going today to talk to the Cenarium.
Mm-hmm.
Xaden agrees that he's up for coming to find the seventh den even beyond the wards. Garrick is starting to have doubts about this meeting because Violet will be completely alone, so anything could happen to her.
He's so worried about her going into this meeting.
Right. But Violet tells him that they need her alive because of Indarna and Taryn so that she will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Xaden adds too that Llewellyn is also in there representing Tyrande and can set that place on fire with a wave of her hand if need be. Xaden tells her that he has every faith in her ability, but if she says the word, he will rip the door off its hinges. And she's like, wow, you're so romantic.
These fucking two, I can't. So Violet enters the meeting and faces 6 nobles representing each of Navarre's provinces, and she knows them all thanks to her mother.
Mm-hmm.
The Duchess of Moraine begins and says that they have 3 days to save the negotiations. They've been briefed by Melgreen and conferred with the king, and Violet will be assigned to a task force to find and recruit the 7th Dragon Den to increase their numbers and provide insight into killing the Vedin.
Mm-hmm.
Violet presents a list of demands from Indarna, but they tell her that she's in no place to make demands, as they still consider her a deserter even after the debt of gratitude they owe her for her mother. Violet's like, I just fucking saved this college, the wards, and this kingdom, and just took out multiple Venin, all not under the chain of command of Navarre.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it hard for anyone to assign her anything, because none of them command the Arishan riot.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not even her demands, they're Indarna's. Melgreen says the return of our riot is still in negotiations, but the assignment basically assumes the riot will remain at Biscaya. Llewellyn will also have to face the council for secretly representing Arisha for years, but they allow him to read Indarna's demands.
Mm-hmm.
Violet says she will take 6 riders with her, and Melgreen's like, no. Violet will be allowed to participate because they need her dragon, but Captain Grady, her RSC professor, will lead the task force.
Mm-hmm.
She will hear from him once they settle the Poramish alliance and will choose the squad he wishes to bring. But of course, Violet only cares if Xaden can come because the dragons can't be separated. Yeah, I'm sure that's the only reason.
Yeah.
And Melgreen says he will probably be among his selections for that reason, but it's still up to Grady at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it was even Delulu of her to think she was going to pick who she wanted to go anyway, but
same.
Maybe like have a say, but to be like, oh, I know exactly who I want to bring. They're like, no.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
You're literally 12
General
years old.
Sorrengail?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. She is still a second year. She's not even graduated yet.
Yeah.
Even though this is one of Indarna's demands, it won't be met. Every possible path, though, which means they have to give.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying to each other. Like, any possible path, they're going to get there
Mm-hmm.
and find Indarna's family.
Mm-hmm.
But she says, okay, only if the rest of Indarna's demands are met. Tiernan and Darna have shown that they are willing to walk away from Navarre if need be. So they will consider her other requests. This development should help smooth negotiations now, but there is still the matter of the Flyers. Letting the Flyers enter the quadrant will help, but they can't defend themselves under the wards. And Melgreen says the Riders will eat them alive.
Which is true.
But it's one of Poromiel's arguments, leaving the Flyer forces with them, though, that they're currently negotiating. So if they want to work with Boromir, I don't think they really have a choice.
Literally.
Yeah. Violet is dismissed from the meeting. It was short and sweet, but Llewellyn has a private missive for her on her way out. And it's from Takaris and says, you have 3 days to hold up your end of the bargain, which is not an option as of right now since the plan went to shit. So that means that the one she is holding in her hand cannot fail. Plan B.
She's got, how many plans does this girl have?
I know. She's had 2 weeks to think about this.
That's true. And that girl thinks fast.
Yeah, especially when she's avoiding her mother's death and Xaden being avenged.
Yeah. Violet and Xaden sleep in the next day. They're very tired. And when they wake up, he starts kissing her and they get all hot and steamy. I was like, thank God, here we go.
Yeah, I'm like, Megan's not going to hate this book.
He touches her with his fingers and she's silently begging for the D, but he starts to hold himself back. Torture written all over his face. Xaden, at the end, needs space, and he doesn't even know if the Isle Kingdoms would be far enough for her to go right now for the space that he needs.
Yikes.
Xaden says he just woke up, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world to just reach for her, but he is not natural anymore. Violet sees 2 faint marks of discoloration where his thumbs were. Did he just channel?
Oh, no.
This is not good for the sexy times for me.
Yeah, I think this is basically saying no penetration.
Fuck!
0 of the throne scenes happening in this book. Unless they're with Garrick. No, I'm just kidding.
To monitor? To babysit the penetration?
Ooh. Freaky of you.
Oh, I've read other books like that, so.
Of course you have.
Chapter 4. Of course, Violet is still being delusional throughout this set of chapters and is making excuses for Xaden's behavior and what just happened. Also, there's now a line of people outside of their bedroom door waiting to speak with them because, you know, they're very important people. But one of those people that pops back into the story is Mira!
Yay! Big sis!
And Mira has some news for Violet that could change how the negotiations are going.
So the epigraph for chapter 4 is, there are 2 reasons Rider cadets are not given the same summer and winter leave as the others. Firstly, civilians do not react well to dragons casually roaming their villages. And secondly, raising tigers for war requires locking their cages lest they turn on each other. Or you.
Whoa.
That took a dark turn.
Literally.
And this is from Sharpen the Talon, a professor's guide by Colonel Tispany Cathia. I don't know.
What
maybe.
a tongue twister.
Very big tongue twister, these names.
Violet is making excuses for Xaden, saying the marks are barely there. But he says it's because he stopped. He could feel Violet's power rising, felt it, and remembered why he promised he wouldn't touch her. Violet has no control of her body. She loves to set things on fire when they have sex.
Literally.
So maybe if she learned to control her power rising, he will penetrate her.
Maybe. That's a lot of a maybe there. You sound a little like Violet.
Xaden says he can't afford to lose control around her. He didn't even feel himself taking anything, but he did it without thinking and without choice. He would have never forgiven himself if it had been Violet instead. Violet is just worried he will pull away now, but he says that he won't. They basically just can't fuck or touch each other too much, so she will stay safe, and he selfishly does not want to give her up.
Ugh,
I don't
it must be hard.
like where this conversation is going, because if you can't be intimate with your partner, it's basically just a friendship.
Exactly.
I don't like this.
I don't like this at all. So Xaden mentions that the memory of her was really fucking hot, though.
Oh, yes, because Violet, while they're getting it on, shows him a scene of them when they were like fucking against her armoire in Fourth Wing.
Yeah. But she doesn't even know how she did this. She questions if it's an intrinsic thing or if it's a bond thing, because it happened more than once. But Xaden doesn't know because he hasn't done it before. I wonder why, because there's no other intrinsic for you to do this with, and now there is? Is this a clue to her second signet being intrinsic? I don't know.
Maybe.
We're going to leave that there for now. Xaden has been busy with Duke Lindell and the 3 highest houses of Tyrander at Biscayath, 2 who hold the allegiance only to the province, and 1 who is suspected. Killing him isn't required to annihilate the Tyrish aristocracy. He is technically only a 2nd lieutenant, but according to Brennan, he has to speak for Orisha. Even though the assembly runs Orisha, which is a good thing, he is Venin, good in battle, bad at governing.
That part was like actually really funny. And Violet's looking at him like, this is not the time for jokes, but it actually was really funny.
Yeah, it was. She's like, stop fucking saying that. Somebody's going to hear you.
Yeah.
They are trying to work out the riot staying, and Llewellyn is trying to get Fenrison's sword back from King Tori, which I thought was interesting too. Mostly because he has all these cool things that do all this magical stuff. So I wonder what kind of magical powers this sword has.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to come back into our story eventually.
Yeah.
Poromil has every reason to walk away from the negotiations. Their only incentive is weapons and keeping the flyers alive. So King Tori has to agree to take civilians, or Poromil has nothing to gain by not attacking the outposts.
Very true.
Yeah.
There is a line of people outside of Violet and Xaden's bedroom door who did not knock, courtesy of Imogen, who says that she thinks Violet needs her fucking sleep.
Good excuse, Imogen.
It's making me feel better that Imogen's like being such a protector and on Violet's side at the beginning of Onyx Storm, because I was very concerned, as we know, about Imogen being some sort of betrayer because she has an orange dragon.
Yeah. I'm glad you're coming around to her.
Yeah, I'm warming up a little bit.
Progress.
This was like a really funny moment, and I love that Garrick is like, Imogen is fucking mean.
Yeah.
But Imogen seems a little jealous of Garrick's bedroom activities with other people that are not her.
I know.
Do we think they have slept together, or they just have this weird sexual tension between each other?
I feel like they probably have as like a one-night stand kind of thing. But who knows?
Yeah. Brennan, Garrick, Llewellyn, Imogen, and Bodhi are all outside the door. But really, she's just making sure that Xaden doesn't kill Violet.
Yeah, she's like, you just need your sleep, or she needs her sleep. But really, they're like, we're listening to make sure that she's alive.
Yeah. I'm so happy Mira's back. And Mira tells them all to get their shit together, kids. We're in the middle of a war.
Yeah, literally. So Mira brings missives and news. Felix sent Violet a new conduit, and Trissa made a disc with 3 runes tempered into it. 1 for levitation in the middle, and 2 overlapping for sound shielding and warmth. Almost after blowing up, they altered the material of the rune that it's tempered with. Battle Axe, or Kylan, is a plant wielder. It's not without risk, but they can save the negotiations. We don't know what the fuck this rune does yet, but this sounds fucking cool.
This is where my brain was starting to explode.
Yeah. They nullified the warmth rune, and that alone is mind-blowing to Violet. So they can basically use the rune as just a sound shield and turn off the warmth in this moment. That's what I'm getting from that. But
Mira thinks they should keep it to themselves and give the Cenarium a chance to do the right thing. But if not, the less people that know, the fewer who will be executed for treason. Brennan's been busy with complicated Pormish politics, trying to get Signeson to stay at the table. They fill Mira in on Violet's mission with Indarna, and she's like, oh, hells no.
Yeah. Mira is not happy that Violet thinks she's going to go on a rescue mission for the 7th Den.
Yeah, it's just another reason for Mira to be pissed at Brennan.
Brennan tries to explain that Queen Maria hopes the 7th Den might know how to defeat the Venin given the age of Indarna's egg. That's smart thinking, honey.
That is smart.
Taryn jumps in and agrees with Mira here. If the 7th Den left and chose to hide, they will not be welcoming their intrusion. And Darna and Violet both need to prepare themselves for the worst, because there is every chance that they will die if they do this.
Yeah.
Violet argues that Orisha needs another of the 7th Den to fire the Wardstone, though. But Mira is like, over my dead fucking body. We only have 6 months before the total collapse of the wards, if they are lucky, and finding Indarna's kind could take decades, and risking Violet's life for nothing.
It's very true. Mira is
Yeah, it
right.
is true.
And Taryn's right. They left for a reason, but they also left an egg behind, and that was also
Yeah.
for a reason. So
Yeah.
lots of conflicting information here.
I feel like it could kind of be like Biscayath. Like, they're split between Navarre and Orisha. I'm sure these other 7th End dragons are probably split too. Like, some of them want to help and some don't. So
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Mira tells Brennan to find another way and that he can't trade Violet for the life of strangers. Mira gives him the disc and says that they found a way to keep the flyers at Biscayath safely. Mira burns him, basically saying that he's acting like their mother and sacrificing members of their family for the greater good. Oof, that is a low blow.
That is a low blow.
Even though Brennan doesn't think the Cenarium will agree, Mira tells him to take the disc to them. It's the only way to forge this alliance. But is this disc what they end up using to warp with the Wardstone later? So the Cenarium already knew about this disc because Brennan brought it to them and they must have said no.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So next up is Chapter 5. Violet is thinking this is the longest day of her life. And then some shit starts happening out in the courtyard because the flyers and the riders are not getting along.
Nope, they are not getting along. So the epigraph for Chapter 5 is, never forget that dragon riders have been selected, trained, and even bred for cruelty. Expecting mercy from a rider is a mistake, for none will be given. And this is from Chapter 1, The Tactical Guide to Defeating Dragons by Colonel Elijah Jobin.
That's true.
It is true. They're going to have a tough time getting these flyers and riders to cooperate.
A few hours later, Violet is feeling like this is the longest day of her life. Violet, Rhee, and Riddick are in the gathering hall waiting for the news from the Cenarium while Sawyer is sleeping. The first years are currently touring the flyers around the quadrant, and Violet notes that Xaden also hasn't returned yet either.
Violet is comforted by the idea that if there are more Venom running around campus, at least Xaden can sense them. Violet also thinks it's weird, though, that the Venom had silver hair. So she's thinking about that girl.
She was like, that's weird, right?
Yeah. Even though, who was it? Garrett? No,
Riddick.
Who plays it off.
Yeah.
She's like, don't mean shit.
Yeah.
But I think it does.
So do I.
Violet is being Violet again and giving us the facts while they wait for the decision from the Cenarium. She says the initial phase of the Treaty of Orisha was 13 days of negotiations. More than 7, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Something's going on, though, because only the riders left in the gathering hall are Orishan. First Wing grabbed one of the tail section's flyers in the courtyard, and they're forcing a challenge. Aura Benhaven has a sword to the neck of a terrified first-year flyer.
What a bitch.
Fucking bitch.
Yeah, they clearly know something's going on. Everyone's like,
yeah.
Pss, 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 pss,
yeah.
And then running out of the fucking gathering hall.
Not subtle at all.
No. Violet tells Dane that they need him, and all of them run out into the courtyard. Stupid Caroline Ashton appears to be making bets, and the rest of the Navarian riders are holding back the angry Orishan riders. Dane tells the group to find their squads and de-escalate at all costs.
Kat tries to interfere and say she will fight in his place, but Violet says no. She can't wield behind the wards, so she can't stop trying to manipulate her emotions by bringing up Xaden. There is no winning here. If Kat bleeds, they will have no chance at an alliance, and if she wins, she will confirm everything that they fear about them.
Yep. It's a lose-lose situation.
Kat, sit down.
Yes. Kat says that they already will never accept them here, and Violet tells her that they don't have to because the Orishan riders already have.
Yeah, exactly. Aura shouts over the crowd using lesser magic to amplify her voice, which is done quite a lot in this section, I would say.
Yes.
Dane argues that this is against the Codex, Section 4, Article 4, but Aura hits back with Article 2, Section 1.
Ooh.
Riders can't interfere outside of their chain of command, and he does not command Fourth Wing anymore.
Not in her eyes.
Nope. Dane tells Aura that injuring a flyer will jeopardize the alliance, but they don't want to hear it. The flyers haven't crossed the parapet or climbed the gauntlet, and now they won't even accept a challenge. Aura says they do not tolerate cowards.
They climbed the cliffs of Drailer, bitch.
Yeah. And they fought more venom than you, so shut up.
Literally. Violet notices griffins and dragons have landed on the wall near the courtyard, and Violet wants to know if Taryn is here. Taryn is like, are you in danger? And Violet's like, well,
Yeah.
not really. So Taryn's like, well, then I trust you that you can handle yourself. The numbers on the Eurasian side and fourth wing are still there. They're pretty strong. But first wing is pretty strong, full of Navarian riders. They're like, we were loyal to Navarre. But Riddick doesn't think that that's something to be proud of when the group basically produced Jack Barlow.
Yeah, good point, Riddick. Aura tries to make a deal with Dane and says if he defeats her, the Flyers will live. If not, they will stain the courtyard red.
Yeah, but
she's all with like the poetic lines.
Yeah, she's stupid. Violet wishes that Xaden didn't have his shields up, but Taryn reminds Violet that Xaden cannot fix what he broke. Dean tries to talk Aura down, saying that they left, but they also returned, that they chose the truth and they chose to defend the helpless. Eric says that Dean is good at this speech, but he's no Xaden. Violet wants to know if Auric is good at public speaking like his family, and he's pretty sassy and says he shunned his birthright and came to a deadly rider squadron for a reason. So, hell no. He's not doing anything.
Too in this section, Auric.
But he also doesn't want to really put himself out there and start speaking up in this moment because he does not need people to start putting two and two together.
Yeah, no, he's still hiding from his dad.
Yeah.
For sure. But Indarna says Dane is not the strongest multiple times before Violet finally gets it. Violet is the strongest. Aura flares her hands with flames, but Violet whips her dagger towards the gloves that she just took off. Violet says Rebel is so outdated. She prefers revolutionary, and if Aura is going to wield, then she will have to deal with Violet. Dun, dun, dun! And Violet's sassy era has begun.
Yes. During these sections, I was literally, Amanda had already read them, but I like to just sit on the phone with Amanda for not for no reason. We like to talk to each other. But I was reading this part, and like every 5 seconds, I was like,
literally.
Chapter 6. So basically, we're still continuing on with this showdown in the middle of the courtyard. But we end this chapter with Violet still being a badass. But there's some good news and some not so good news about what happened during the scenarium today.
Yep. And the epigraph for chapter 6 is Never Turn Your Back on a Rider. From Major Offender's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant, the unauthorized edition. We missed you in our epigraphs.
I know.
It's been a while.
Aura is pissed. She asks Violet, do you dare? And Violet's like, yep, I do dare.
Violet uses her power to split the sky with lightning, and powerful thunder that shakes the stonework follows. Aura is not fucking with her now. She's like, okay, let me look away.
Violet says that Dane is too honorable to wield in a challenge, but Violet's sense of morality has wavered. That if Aura lifts a hand against Dane again, the next dagger is going through Aura's hand.
Ooh, feisty.
Rihanna tries to warn Violet, but Riddick is like, shush, it's more fun when Violet blows shit up.
I agree, Riddick.
Yes.
Violet tells them that they only survived because they stole information leadership was hiding from them, translated, and then saved their asses. She continues that the Flyers fought by their side for months after Navarre had been leaving their people for death by venom for centuries because Navarre didn't want to share the one resource that would save them.
Literally.
So who the fuck are you to say they do not belong?
Yeah. Violet says that they don't have to like each other, but they do need to trust each other. They need to be the generation to be the change so that their generation will not be the last Dragon Riders and Griffin Flyers.
Exactly.
The professors are back!
Yes!
Devara, Amaretto, and Kaori are now showing themselves in the courtyard.
Devara agrees with Violet. She hears her whole speech and says they will all meet Malik in the coming months. You have to decide if you want to fight each other or face their shared enemy. She likes their odds, though, since it's the first time since the Great War that a shadow and a lightning wielder fought side by side.
That's what I also
More
was like.
evidence to my prediction. Wild. Wild, wild, wild. This just makes me think, who else is fighting side by side with them right now? And what kinds of signets do we have?
I know.
During the Great War, they managed to drive the venom back into the barons for a few hundred years, and they will figure out how to do it again.
Yeah.
Devar says they are done waiting for the nobles, and battle brief will begin at 9 a.m. sharp for every cadet, no matter what colors they wear tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Devara takes no bullshit.
No, I love it.
I love her.
Yeah, me too.
Kat tells Violet that she can see it sometimes why Xaden chose Violet, but that Violet still took too long to step in. She still has to give that right in the side.
She's like, yeah, but I would still be better with him.
Yeah. And I would have done it a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Violet clocks Xaden, Mira, and Brennan standing off to the side, but they look tense. Violet thanks Dane for stepping in when she needed him, and he tells her that he always will. Violet thinks that things could have been different if he'd shown her the same faith during her first year, but not different enough to change how she feels about Xaden. Xaden is watching this interaction, and Violet thinks he may be jealous. I don't like where this is going.
No.
I don't want Xaden's mind to be clocking like she'd be safer with Dane. She'd be better off with Dane because of what I am now.
Exactly how I think it's gonna go. Exactly.
Stop. Put your hand on your forehead.
Okay.
Take it back.
I take it back. They've reached the terms for the riot to stay, but it's not great news.
Yes, and Brennan, Mira, and a bunch of people, Llewellyn, they want to speak with both Violet and Auric, and Riddick is not happy about being left out.
No. Llewellyn tells Auric that his secret is still safe, but he should consider putting his father out of his own misery. He has half of the personal guard looking after him. Someone complicated negotiations.
Ugh. Well, before we get into who that someone is, Auric says that Violet would make a great politician or a general, and definitely nobility. Is that some foreshadowing?
I believe so.
Xaden says, with that speech, at least a duchess.
I wonder why she would be a duchess. Violet's mission was discussed, and they were trying to get an extension given the information they just learned from Mira about the wars. And we find out who the someone is who complicated the negotiations, and it's Auric's brother, Holden, who wants to go on the mission with Violet. He says Pormil would accept a Sorrengail without a question, so if they need someone royal to speak up for Navarre, they must be going to the Isle Kingdoms or further north.
Violet feels sick about this. I feel like
I feel like you're right too. As soon as I read this, and I think I even told you, I'm like, you're right about some stuff, and I think I am too. So this is what I was talking about.
Yes. Llewellyn says that Ark is the wisest of his family, and their kingdom would have benefited from Ark being their ruler. They wanted Ark to expose himself to make the kingdom feel good about there still being a spare, since Holden wants to go on dangerous missions. But obviously, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, no. The rest of Indarna's demands were discussed as well. All of those who flew for Arisha are welcome back with a full pardon. Indarna will not submit for any examinations, and she can hunt in the King's Forest wherever she pleases. Love that had to be in there.
She loves sheep.
Caveat. Yep. But the flyers were not discussed. It was a 6-1 vote for the safety of Navarre's borders and it not to be tampered with. So they're basically like, fuck no, you're not using a rune to tamper with our wards to save the flyers. Like, no.
Yeah.
The flyers aren't safe here, and these things take time. They can't figure it out before the deadline in 2 days. So the flyers will have to go back to Arisha while they still have the wards, and then can negotiate again later. So plan B it is. Violet chooses treason. Treason it is. They are giving Violet every resource in the library, though, to use for her research. But the price Llewellyn and Lyndall told them to keeping the riot here is wild. Wild. The king gave Xaden back his title and the seat in the Cenarium, but not just for Arisha. He gave him Tyrandor, which makes Xaden the Duke of Tyrandor.
That's insane.
And now we can see why he made that Duchess comment.
Yes, but did he also get his sword back? Because Violet asks and he doesn't say.
Yeah, which makes me think it's some magical mystical sword that I want to know about.
But did he get it back, or is that still like something that was being worked on?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember it being worked out.
Yeah.
Either way, like he's getting it back or he's not. But Violet is like, oh, fuck, I need to find a cure. And that means saving the Alliance tonight. even if it makes her a traitor in the morning.
Mhm. Yes, because Xaden made Violet promise him that she will stop him if he goes too far, that she will keep safe, even if it's from him.
More foreshadowing. I'll leave it
Yes.
at there for now. The epigraph for chapter 7 is, if I'm to be court-martialed for helping Braxton defend his people, then I shall welcome the trial. All who channel from the dragon and the griffin alike should flourish under the wards. And now Orisha will be that haven should one of the others ever return. And this is from the Journal of Lyra of Moraine, translated by Cadet Jacinia Neilwart.
Yeah, those other 6 did something to her, so I feel like you're totally right about, I feel like Lyra is a Venin.
Yep.
And it's interesting to see that she's probably the reason why there is a wardstone in Orisha.
Yep.
Which the others did not like.
Yep. And maybe the others included the 7th Den.
And that's why they left.
And couldn't activate it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't even know because they left that the wardstone even is there.
Yeah.
Maybe if they know that, Lyra actually put the wardstone there, that would be a reason for some of them to return.
Yeah. That's true.
Should have put that in my prediction, but I didn't think of it until just now. So that's my early prediction.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes we get them on the spot.
Riddick is mad because he wants to be on the quest squad. Rhea's like, oh my god, there is no quest squad. Just a group of skilled people going to find Indarna's kind. Riddick was like, well, that kind of sounds like a quest squad to me.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, he's right.
It's okay.
Violet reassures him that if she had a say, that he would be going with her.
Of course.
Bodhi, Quinn, and Marin meet up with Violet, Riddick, Rhea, and Imogen, who are all going on a mission tonight.
Yes. Violet starts off the mission by having a vial of a concentrated purple valerian root tincture in her pocket.
Of course she does.
Of course, our little poison master. Dyer, an infantry cadet, takes an extra shift to help Violet and her squad with her plan. He takes the vial from her to keep the healers asleep while they borrow Sawyer. Bodhi puts up a sound shield, and they tell Sawyer that Mira found a way to help the flyers stay, and they need him because it involves manipulating the material a rune is tempered with without destroying it. And the material is mostly iron, and he is a metal guy, so it works out.
He has to go because they need him. He's still
He's
part of
gotta
the
go.
squad, even though he missed a leg.
Exactly. Quinn will make sure that no one knows he's missing. The Orishan Riot gives Violet their full support on this mission, and they will find out how the others feel in the morning.
Love that.
I love that too. And Sawyer, he has some doubts about himself and his powers, but ultimately he gets up and goes.
Which, yeah, I know this made me really sad because it basically made it sound like his dragon isn't really speaking to him now that he's injured.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That made me really sad because,
I didn't think about that.
Not all dragons are like how Terran is with Violet.
I know, but that's kind of fucked up because he lost his stopping a wyvern from biting him.
I know.
So that's fucked up.
I know, but they'll drop them if they can't hold their seat. Most of the dragons, they're brutal.
Yeah, you're right. That's sad. I don't want to think about that either.
Yeah.
Imogen goes to knock out the guards downstairs, but she comes back up and says, "Uh-oh, we have a problem." Mira is downstairs, and she reminds them all of the consequences of following through with this plan. But Violet says if the wards fall, then there will be a mass migration to Orisha. But Mira is never wrong, and she is the one who found the solution. So she trusts it, and she's going to move on with it. And Mira decides that she's not going to stop them, but only because she knows that Violet's thinking this, and she'll try again, and Mira might not be here to help if she's needed.
Also, I just love that Mira just always knows the bullshit that Violet is up to.
Yeah.
Just like when she caught Violet and Rhiannon sneaking off during Fourth Wing to go see Rhiannon's parents. She's like, I knew I was right. I switched my shift.
Literally. Brennan is there, so it's a family affair. Brennan gives orders to Sawyer to stay with Mira, to Marin to wield whatever lesser magic she's most comfortable with, and to Riddick, and Violet to not touch anything. And Brennan is there just in case the plan goes to shit, since he's already fixed the wardstone once, so if it needs bending again, we got him there.
Yes. Violet is also having flashbacks of her mother, and Violet is having regrets. She says that she was right there and she couldn't stop her mother. Violet says she's not even sure if she misses her or if that they even had a chance at eventually being something, and it's not like what Rhiannon has with her mother. But Rhiannon tells Violet that she's still allowed to feel both.
Yeah, of course. You can not have the best relationship and still
Miss someone.
feel like you need to grieve.
Yeah.
They begin their little ritual with this rune.
This is a weird-ass part.
Me and Megan actually talked about this before the podcast. We wish we did get more detail in this moment, because it's kind of like, oh, they begin and the top line of rune bubbles outwards and it's working. It disappears. And the next line bulges outward and then splits and metal melts and starts oozing from the wound. I'm like, okay.
What the fuck does that actually mean?
It just seems too fast and not enough detail here.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. The rings are bubbling off and there's wounds of metal oozing.
Yeah, I told Amanda, I go, it took her longer to write about them getting to the fucking wardstone than it did to do whatever they're doing to the wardstone.
Exactly, yeah. But Riddick steps in and throws ice at it, so it stops melting. Thank God. Mira says the wards are still intact, and she's 90% sure the protections against the Dark Wielders are still in place. They just need to make sure Barlow is still contained, because he's really their only test subject.
Right.
Besides Xaden, but she doesn't know that.
Right. Sawyer says now they are all going to stand for trial for treason, and Violet's like, no, we're not. Our girl always has a plan.
Of course. Kat confirms the next morning in Battle Brief that Xaden is now the Duke of Tyrandor, and the treaty has been signed. She's already using her mind manipulation powers for some fun, too.
Yeah. Of course she is.
Starting fights between other riders.
Yes. Devara sets the structure back up within the wings. Stay where you have always been, or feel free to lodge a complaint with Malik. Love her.
Yeah, she's like, fuck you. I'm not rearranging. Stay where you are.
Yeah. First and second wings will be smaller until the rest of the Griffin riders get here from Signeason. Dane is still the wing leader of fourth wing, Aura is still the wing leader of second wing, and Irish and Lael, whoever the hell they are the wing leaders of first and third.
I don't remember either of those names, so I don't know.
No.
Of course, the cadets are not happy with these arrangements, but Devera amplifies her voice. Here we go with this little lesser magic again. And the room goes quiet. Too quiet. Because Colonel fucking Atos comes back and barges into Battle Brief all giddy and says, Violet Sorrengail, you are hereby charged with high treason against the Kingdom of Navarre.
Oh, shit.
Fucking Atos. Oh. I remember texting our little group chat, our Empyrean group chat, and I said, I hate this chapter.
You hate
this next chapter because it involves him.
So chapter 8, Violet is going to have to go in front of the Cenarium again to see if they're going to charge her for high treason. Well, we know our girl always gets her way, but Colonel, or should I say General Atos, is a dickhead.
Fuck. Unbelievable. The worst chapter so far.
Yes.
The epigraph for chapter 8.
It's a good and bad chapter, but just because
of Colonel
Atos.
Yeah, of Atos. General Atos,
I'll
whatever.
I'll never call him that for real.
So the epigraph for chapter 8 is, while many preach loyalty to Hedian, I think, above all others, especially in Chaldea province, I find that favoring Zenal has universal appeal. Everyone wants wisdom but needs luck. Major Rorley's Guide to Appeasing the Gods, 2nd edition. Interessante.
Dane pops up when he hears his dad and calls him dad, and this freaking jerk says out loud, I have no son. Atos says that Violet is as good as dead, and like I said earlier, Colonel Atos has now been promoted to general. And Atos escorts Violet to the Cenarium and anxiously awaits their judgment. Xaden says, what happens to not getting into trouble? And Violet says, I never said that. So now Xaden has decided that he's done not knowing what Violet is up to. When Xaden asks Violet if she really fucked with the wards, she tells him the right way isn't always the only way.
Uses his words right against him.
Of course she does.
Of course.
Atos thinks Xaden shouldn't be able to sit and judge on the crime that Violet has done.
The Duke of Chaldea, though, puts this motherfucker in his place, and I fucking love it. He says, remove yourself if you can't be silent, Atos. You have no purview here. That's right.
Yeah.
The Duke of Kaldare asks if there was any reports of the wards being damaged beyond allowing the flyers to wield, and Xaden answers that they are still intact against dark wielders. He knows because of unsaid reasons, but he tells them it's because they haven't been swarmed yet, and Barlow is still in the interrogation chamber, so the wards are still holding.
Mm-hmm.
But since they signed the treaty this morning, it pardons every action up until then at 8 a.m., including last night.
Yes.
Fucking genius.
I love how Violet is straight up like, yep, I did it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Literally.
And Xaden thinks Violet is a brilliant, reckless woman.
Me too, Xaden. Queen Maria says that Violet is free to return to her duties. She asks why she did it in the first place, and Violet simply says it was the right thing to do, which it was.
Yeah.
In return, she gets access to Takaris' library, which is their best hope for any historical record on how they defeated the Venin centuries ago. But the queen then offers Violet full access to her library, as hers is even better than Takaris's. So
wow, that's good news.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is good.
So Violet leaves the scenarium with her head held high, and Atos is like, you're not going to get away with this. Yep. Atos has not only been promoted to general, but he is now the commanding general of Bascaeth, Lilith's replacement. And the scenario may abide by the pardon, but he definitely isn't. Brennan tells Atos he isn't fit to sit at their mother's desk. And it's kind of interesting because Atos is very shocked to see Brennan in person again.
Yeah.
Violet tells Atos his threats are just threats. They need her, especially her dragons and her signet. But this asshole knows exactly where to strike Violet where it hurts, attacking and punishing her friends who are also in his direct chain of command. Her entire squad has now been ordered to the front lines. 2 days of duty at Samara to begin tomorrow morning.
Yes, and Violet reminds us here that it's at least an 18-hour flight for the Griffins, and they need breaks, so this will be exhausting for them.
Yeah. And Atos at the end is like, I hope you all come back intact.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
Like, does not have one care in the world about a Venin.
No, because he is one.
Exactly. Trying to distract them.
Secrets die with the people who keep them.
Yes.
So, in chapter 9, our group is back at Samara. Didn't think we would be back here so soon or ever again.
I know. Literally.
And Violet's like, come with me. I know where we can go. She has a nightmare. And then, of course, our group wants to go on a dangerous mission because, of course, we are, now that we're here at Samara.
Indeed. So the epigraph for chapter 9 is, calling cadets into active service in times of war may only be authorized by the commanding general of Bascaeth. Womp, womp, womp.
Womp, womp,
This
womp.
is from Article 8, Section 1 of the Dragon Riders Codex.
Stupid ass.
Stupid. Who ever thought that was a good idea is a fucking moron and probably a Venin too.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
The crew arrives at Samara and they're exhausted. Violet's been there many times visiting Xaden, but the scene around them looks unrecognizable. A wyvern had recently crashed into the western wall, but once the perimeter was down, the Venin didn't even need magic to get into the post. They nearly lost their power supply, killing them off.
Dang.
They managed to get them across the border, but the casualties are much worse beyond the wards. And of course, Kat has to remind us here that they always are. Marin asks about a village called Newhall, but as far as de Grenzy knows, who is the commanding officer, I guess, at Samara at this moment, is still standing. Traeger asks about Pormish civilians and if they were offering refuge. Unfortunately, though, they are under strict orders not to let anyone in unless something changes in negotiations. But they did cross the border and fight the last horde with their people, so the Flyers are thankful for this.
It's interesting that she mentions this little town, and then literally like a few hours later, that town is being attacked.
Yeah.
So I feel like somehow they knew that Marin, one of Violet's friends, was asking about this town, and that's why they go there specifically. Like somehow this information got relayed to the Venin.
Yeah, or they were in fucking battle brief with them. Or in classes with them, one of the Venin.
Or like they're in second squad somehow.
Yeah, they're in somewhere where they can fucking...
Because they knew they would come. I think it's someone at Samara, probably. Because she
Or do
asks
they
them
have this connection
directly.
with Violet, and can hear her conversations that she has with people?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
DeGrenzy does warn, though, that they should not expect the others to be so friendly. The alliance with Portamill is not a popular decision, and he asks that Taryn stay out of sight so that they do not attract the enemy.
Makes sense.
Violet has a nightmare when they're all resting. There are flames everywhere, burning a portrait of her family, and Kat being the next queen of Tyrandor.
Wild.
Even though she wouldn't be a queen, she would be a duchess, if anything.
Yeah, she would be a duchess.
Unless they
I mean, it is a
secede
dream, but
from Navarre, then she would be a
oh,
queen.
yeah.
But I don't want to think about that. I refuse to think
Me
about it in this
neither.
episode. Xaden warded as we know, Xaden had warded his room while he was there at Samara, and that ward still stands. And that ward was so only he and Violet could go in it. So she pulls her squad through for the night so they know that they'll be safe there. And when they wake up, they overhear a rider say that Maze says that they have less than an hour.
Yes, and Taryn reminds Violet that Maze is mated to Grimm, the dragons that can communicate over far ranges that we talked about at the end of Iron Flame.
Yeah.
And they believe that they are stretched too thin. This is when we find out that the village of Newhall is under attack, where Marin's family lives. But the outpost is already running on little sleep, and they already have lost a rider this week. They have to save their energy for larger cities to save more people, and unfortunately, that leaves the villages as collateral damage a lot of the time.
The squad is deciding if they should go. Riddick suggests narrowing the scope of the mission. Instead, they'll extract Marin's family and however many civilians they can get out. Violet suggests a vote. That's what they did at Resson, and every hand went up in favor of going.
Yes, that's our squad.
And then the last chapter in this section is chapter 10. This is probably the wildest chapter that we've read so far in Onyx Storm.
Yes,
so
I agree.
Lots of action. Our group is going to Newhall to try to save Marin's parents. We run into a ton of wyvern, and our silver-haired Venom is waiting for us.
So the epigraph for chapter 10 is, weather is one great equalizer in battle, equally detrimental or favorable to both sides given the conditions. Without our wielder swaying that element to our advantage, we are at its mercy. More than ever in this chapter. And this is from Tactics, a modern guide to aerial combat by Major Constance Cara. Whoa.
They leave the protection of the wards, and Violet forgot how wild the magic was out here, how accessible it was. Maze saw them depart, though, and wants them to return immediately. But Taryn is like, I don't answer to Maze. We're not going back.
Yeah. Even Violet's like, can you lie to her?
Yeah.
Or something. Violet spots civilians hiking towards them, and Taryn relays the message to Ferge, and the Griffins and Indarna will stop there first to help them.
Taryn is so funny in this part. Violet tells him, up ahead, and Taryn's like, yes, I know. I too have eyes. Also, when she tells Taryn to slow down, he's like, first you asked for speed, and now you're complaining when I provide it.
Yeah, he's just grumpy.
So grumpy.
Taryn and Violet are flying towards a storm and see more civilians fleeing from a gate in the western wall. They are under attack by Wyvern, and Violet wields lightning and strikes the Wyvern in the chest. But two more appear through the smoke, and they are on them. They're close. But Taryn swings his tail and the wyverns spin off. She strikes again and beheads another wyvern. Violet sees the dark wielder with the silver hair from Jack's cell. She has a feeling that, she thinks this Venom was expecting them.
Yeah.
Two more wyvern emerge, and Violet thinks it's Outram who comes in to assist, but it's actually Garrick's dragon.
Garrick's dragon's here. Garrick is here?
Garrick is here! More for my theory. Thank you very much. That's 3 chapters out of 10.
Okay. Taryn yells, tornado! Which is so fucking random.
He probably yells it like, tornado.
Just kidding. That was creepy. And they are flung around like rag dolls, around and around. And Taryn crashes, knocking boulders loose, and something slams into Violet's knee. Taryn's wings cover Violet, but then she hears a thud impact, and the bond goes dark.
And Amanda's heart sunk.
I was in
He was like, no.
I was in full denial. I was like, nope, it's fine. It's fine.
I literally was like, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. And then when he woke up, I was like, oh God.
Well, he didn't really wake up.
Foreshadowing. Well,
he's breathing.
Started breathing. Yeah. When he started breathing again, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is not a Liam thing.
Yeah. Thankfully, take that back. Put your hand on your forehead.
I take that back again.
Thankfully, Taryn is not dead. Violet feels a glimmer and sees him start to breathe regularly again.
Whew, thank God.
Garrick basically had the same experience as Violet, and his dragon is also knocked out too. So he helps her with her knee. And Garrick tells Violet to trust him. Crack track, crack track.
Crack track. It's becoming a real theory at this point.
I know. Garrick tells Violet that he's there because Xaden became unreasonable when he heard Violet was leaving the wards and heading into danger. Xaden always prided himself on control, but he is not himself.
And this is his best friend saying this, so...
Also, like, Xaden must be freaking out even more now because if Taryn is knocked out and that bond was gone for a hot second, Sigale knows something's up. So she's gonna be rip-roaring.
But is she even talking to him to tell him?
No, but I don't know. I'm sure he might get a flood of her emotions if he feels that. Or she might actually start talking to him if she's that worried about Taryn.
That's true. Yeah. Well, hopefully we get a Xaden chapter on that eventually.
Yeah.
Violet asks Garrett how he got there, but he says it's not important. They left 40 minutes ago, though, and Garrick, who is hours away, is already there. Fishy.
Yes.
The Venom fucking wields lightning, too. On top of this, what the fucking what?
I know. Garrick thought it was Violet. He's like, whoa, like, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
And it wasn't her.
No. She tells Andarna that now would be a good time to manifest a second signet. And then she thinks about Garrick in this moment, though, and says, second signet?
Totally has a second signet.
I was thinking it, too.
Yeah. The silver-haired Venom says she was disappointed they were so easily lured from the wards. Marin's family raised weapons against her, so she killed the parents, but the boys still live. And she is now lifting Garrick off the ground.
Scary. The silver-haired Venom tells Violet that their paths are too intertwined to begin with such hostility.
What?
What the fuck does that mean? And she wants to ask Violet a single question, then she will drop Garrick. Violet tells Andarna to warn the others. Her question is, which chose you first? The one who gifted you the power of the sky, or the Irid?
Yeah. Which is interesting, because technically the Irid did choose Violet first, because she was out in the field.
Did she?
I would say that she did, because she was out in the field where Violet, like, protected her. Obviously, she didn't speak to Violet until they landed in the fields, but still.
Yeah.
She was out there and she stayed with Violet, so.
Well, she also technically chose her the second they knew that she was going to be a rider.
Yeah.
Too, if you want to argue that way, I could see it.
Yeah, so I feel like Andarna chose her first and then Taryn.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, holy shit, Taryn getting knocked out, this silver-haired Venom shooting fucking lightning.
Mm-hmm. Also, that silver-haired Venom seemed like she had intrinsic abilities, too.
Interesting.
But also, see, she also had powers to just poof herself into a different place.
Yeah.
So how many powers does she have?
I mean, I think this book is going to be full on Venom 101. Like, what their powers can be.
Yeah.
We're going to learn so much about them, for sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's jump into our predictions, because I made a stupid rule that me and Megan couldn't read on until we record. So we need to go read.
Yes.
So we need to finish this
So
up.
just like putting this out there to our listeners again, we have not read past chapter 10. We literally have no idea what happens after 10.
No. We have no idea. So my first prediction, which I've already kind of mentioned, is the epigraph for chapter 2 has me thinking that we are going to get a repeat of the first 6, where the most powerful riders simultaneously come together to end the Venom. This guy who wrote this epigraph, Major Dalton Cisneros, says, as fascinating as that must have been, I would rather not live to see it happen again, which I think is totally foreshadowing.
Yes.
This is confirmed for me further in chapter 6 when we find out that Xaden and Violet are the first shadow and lightning wielders since the Great War.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, 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 a light goes off in my head like, okay, do we know who the other ones are? We don't know our signet yet.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, okay, maybe it's him.
Yeah.
We don't really know Garrick or Bodhi's.
Yeah, we know that Garrick is a wind wielder from
Right.
chapter 10. Finally, we didn't know anything before.
Right.
But we definitely see that Garrick has
His
a
like
sixth.
second, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I think I'm referring to here.
Which
But
is my prediction, is that Garrick is a distance wielder or some sort of time traveler, time hopper.
yeah, which I can totally see.
And I also think that this is totally possible, this time hopping or being able
Yeah.
to like jump to another location. Because we kind of see the Venom disappear, that silver-haired Venom, poof. And I wonder if that's like what Garrick does too.
Oh, that's true.
So that's one of my predictions. So I just wanted to add it there so we didn't have to backtrack.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We did get a couple predictions from our friend Abby from our book club, and they're just so good that I also wanted to read a couple of hers too before we continue with ours. But she says, is the girl the Venom, I think her name was like Theophanine. I don't know what it is, but we're just going to call her the silver-haired Venom so I don't butcher it. But she's saying, is the silver-haired Venom the girl that they mentioned before when they were like, the last time a lightning wielder and a shadow wielder fought together? That must be her, right? So I was like, holy shit. Because we think Lyra, one of the first, turned Venom, or at least that was my theory. And I know you've agreed with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm thinking, oh my God, was Lyra the lightning wielder?
Oh, maybe.
That would be wild.
Yes.
Because they're like, she's kind of like Violet in the sense of the first six.
And she knows about the Irid, which is the seventh den.
Exactly. So we know that she knows Violet's whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So she thinks it's maybe because of the silver hair connection. She knows what Indarna is, like we just said. And she says that maybe Violet and Xaden are going to be fighting their dark equals. Which would be like the new generation first six versus the Great War first six.
Ooh, but I also just thought of something. You know how we have the crack track theory that Garrick can go to the past or like some sort of time hopper, even though I kind of just mentioned that. What if this silver-haired Venom, because I think it's Violet because they have the same powers. What if the Dark Wielder and the Lightning Wielder are really Violet and Xaden, but now they're back in the past? Like, in trying to fix the mistakes from the first time.
That would be wild.
It's crack track, but I just had to say it.
I see his distance wielder as being like he can move within time fast in the same time dimension. I still am not convinced they can jump time dimensions. Not saying it's not a possibility. I'm just not convinced.
Yeah.
But the other one Abby had was that she says, she looked back at the quote from Fourth Wing where the Venom, with the silver hair, talks to her and says, such untapped power. No wonder we were called here. You could command the sky to surrender all its powers, and I bet you don't even know what to do with it. So Abby thinks there's such a thing as a Venom equivalent of channeling directly from the sky, the way that the Venom channel from the earth. So she's thinking, is this what she's going to have to do? Is maybe channel from the sky? Or is this why the Venom want her? Because they'll have access to not only the earth, but also the sky.
Right.
So that was just interesting, too, how to share that one. I have one last guess about this Venom, too, because they talk about this faded tattoo on her forehead. And automatically I thought of the rune mark that's on Brennan's hand. So I was like, maybe there's a connection there and why there's this tattoo on her forehead.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but that just made me think of that quick.
Yeah.
And lastly, I just need to go over my Garrick crack check theory evidence. It now has its own part in every single episode. I'll be mentioning anything that I find. So, chapter 2, Garrick is concerned for Violet and doesn't want to leave her and Xaden alone for 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes.
Not even.
He says he will be close by, and Xaden agrees he has every right to be worried about them being alone together. Dun dun dun. Chapter 3, he shows concern for Violet again, leaving her alone with the scenario. And chapter 10, Garrick shows up in Newhall, and Xaden goes buck wild after Violet leaves the protection of the wards. He had to send Garrick, though, in that moment, I believe, because Violet mentions a little earlier that the magic there was like so accessible.
Yeah.
So he knows he cannot leave the wards. He'll be fucked.
Yeah.
Which I think will happen, but not yet.
Yeah. So I have 2 more predictions. One of them is a working theory that I don't like, but I just can't get it out of my head. So the
Yeah.
first one that I think is going to happen, I think Dane is going to be the one that actually ends up killing his father at the end. I think it would be so poetic for Dane to deliver the final blow.
I would love that.
Especially after the I have no son.
Yeah.
And then my last one is about Holden and Violet. Are they the true enemies to lovers story? I'm not sure I'm sold on this, but just a lot of hype around Violet's reaction to Holden's name.
Yeah.
And Darda's like, why do you feel sick? And Taryn even questions Violet's reaction to Holden's name. So
Yeah.
obviously there's definitely something there. There's something more that needs to be said, but I don't know. Like, are they the true enemies to lovers? I don't know.
Yeah. Or is Xaden's reaction to him going on this mission with her going to cause him to go crazy even more than her just leaving the wards and causing some trouble?
Mm-hmm. There's
Yikes.
something there. I'm still working on that. That is a work in progress theory between Holden, Violet, and Xaden.
Yeah. But that's all we have for you today. Please let us know what you think by leaving us a review and comments on any of the platforms you are listening/watching on or on our social media pages. This helps tremendously to get the word out and lead more listeners to find our show and tune in.
Yes, don't forget to email, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and tell all your friends about us. And we hope the rest of your day is blissful. Bye!
Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week where we start part 2 of Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yaros, covering chapters 11 through 20. Happy reading!